So many of you guys, well, I should say some, have been asking for this, and I do have to say it's a little surprise because I don't even, not even trust myself to do something like this, but here we go. Hope this will be good, but who knows. So, hope you enjoy. Hey, this is UpPK56 Dance presenting the unofficial guide of using the shovel from a game of Postal Brain Damaged. So I do have to say that the shovel is actually from one of my top favorite weapons to use, alongside with the cat gun and the holy rocket launcher. The shovel I do mostly use, and of course I have posted many videos alongside of killing the bosses and the enemies with the shovel only. And I'm sure many of you guys may be wondering, how can one be good at using the shovel? And we'll see how it'll go. And we may never know if the shovel will be changed within some updates. So we'll see. When it comes to the basics of the shovel, it's like it has 3 controls, in which back at the demo it used to actually be for reflect, which they put the reflect onto the kick instead, and while they changed with the shovel's action just to block instead, which it does actually help in some cases, in which I will explain in a later video. So of course when it comes to using the shovel, I mainly do use the just tap it instead of holding, because even though it is fun to hold just to chase people around, be like just chainsawing all over the place, but with tapping to just swing it, it's basically, it gives out more damage and is more quicker that way, so you only get like 1 or a few swings on some enemies. But of course when it comes to bigger enemies that has more HP bars, you do need to do a lot more swinging in order for you to actually kill them off. With the shovel itself, it's actually pretty useful when, let's say if you ran out of ammo, which I don't know how you would actually run out of ammo, but it is actually very useful to go for like a melee kill, and you may never know if the enemies will drop some ammo for you, and that's when you can just continue on shooting from there. When, like, if you're low on health, the enemies do drop some health for you, so of course you don't have to scavenge around for some as you used to before the update came in about enemies dropping health and ammo. I think that'll be it for now for the basics. So of course I did make a tier list of like which enemies that could be good for of like killing with a shovel, or just some that you just basically have to shoot head on. But with others, you do have to strategize of how you want to kill that certain enemy with a shovel. So, unless if you're one of those person that doesn't want to waste time and just, you know, shoot their faces off, then if that is your thing, then go ahead. Just, but it is just in case if you somehow ran out of ammo, or if you just want to go for just a quick slash, and then that's when you just be on your way or so. So of course when it comes to the best counters to go with the shovel, of course it has to be someone who does like either chase you or just charge at you head on. But of course what's so simple about it is like you're just gonna move a little bit to the left or right, and then that's when you just slash them down. There are some that does based on like more movement instead of just moving a little bit, because of course there are some like enemies that will actually be able to get you once they, you know, quickly turn. For example, about the gigantic golden retriever, and those things could be quick to turn, but of course once you turn a little bit, but that's not enough, because it will still like be able to get you. Even turning like a lot more, it will still manage to somehow lock onto you if you're not actually moving in the most careful state, or just recklessly go at it. When it comes to like blocking with some enemies, like projectiles or like once they shoot or melee at you. It's basically a pattern to go for of just blocking the enemy's attacks and then you slash them off. Enemies that do basically try to move away from you, but that's when you just go on aggressively of just block their attacks and then you just aggressively just murder them. And for the optional kills, well, you will know that if you actually do need health and armor, that's when you could actually just kill the NPCs. The thing is, when it comes to cats, I do not kill cats. I'd rather just pet them. But the thing is that once you pet them, they will explode anyway. So just look at them, observe them, and of course they're gonna growl at you, but you don't care. They're just cute. And then there's the worst counters. And of course, when it comes to the sniper, I do have to actually say that, like, you can block their attacks, but then once in my first experience of trying to block a bullet, it did not end up as well as I thought. Because I thought, like, maybe I missed, or at the same time, it just was a lucky shot. Even when it's like, if I want to get too close to the sniper, of course, the barrel of the sniper rifle will still be able to shoot you while you're blocking because you're just that close. That will also involve with other enemies who are like too close to you to the point where they can actually do get you. So it's best to actually back up a little bit in order for you to like actually block their attacks. Melee or whatever they're shooting you with. The sniper, you just kill off the sniper just by shooting it. I had some terrible experiences with the sniper. Of course, like, yes, the movement does matter. You have to be really quick for it to like miss, and then that's when it's your point to attack. But the thing is that snipers are just very, very annoying when it comes to like dealing with other enemies. But then it'll be like right on the sniper's sideline just to shoot you down, and even there's multiple like attacks that you want to block, but of course it's not 100% guarantee block, which I will explain that in a later video, but it's best just to shoot down the sniper because you really don't want to deal with them at all. Something else about with explosions and fire, and my experiences of trying to figure out if I could be able to block explosions and fire. I do have to say explosions you cannot. So you actually do have to dodge what you can from those set explosions. And with fire, it's a very mix. Because I don't know how to explain it to you, but my experiences of like testing is the fire from both the dinosaur dude and the stormtrooper thing guy. Like once they shoot out fire, sometimes you do block the fire, but other times you cannot. And like I'm trying to adjust some things about how to like prevent it, but at the same time I think I'm like, okay, I might be too close into the fire, or like maybe I should step back to see if it blocks that way. But the thing is, like, if you're inside of the fire, you're basically cannot be able to block everything, because fire is basically all around you. And then lastly, the clown elemental, which is one of the worst counters you can go against. When it comes to my experience of like dealing with clown elementals in just a closed space, it'll be a little easy for me to actually kill them off with a shovel, since the clown elementals do actually fly away from you once they're shooting out the lost clowns. So because once you try to like slash them off and they do move away, but you still have to get that close to them, it is better to kill them off into closed spaces, like in a small room or something. But once you had to deal like more than one and it's an open space, good luck with that, because and of course with one of my videos that I've done before, it was the extras of how to deal with certain enemies, of how I tried to record with a shovel, and of course it was under Postal difficulty. It was a pain to go through, But it was more of a pain just to deal with clown elementals, just to kill one just to see. But of course, since it took so long, I had to cut it out because like it's not worth showing, because I need to show like the whole thing of trying to like damage and kill it. Because if I did not do that, because I'm sure other people are gonna be like, it seems like you edit a lot of that stuff out, and I'm like, yes. So it was best for me to have it under the clip dumps, so you guys would know how much I was suffering just to kill a single clown elemental. With the lost clowns, here's a tip for them if you actually want to kill one of them with a shovel. Weirdly, I think there are 2 phases of how the clown elemental will shoot out the lost clowns. So for example, of when the clown elemental will actually shoot out the lost clown like towards you, you can actually easily block them off. And with the clown elemental like summons a lost clown, of course the lost clown has its own control of actually charging itself towards you. And of course you cannot be able to block that because it will explode onto you in impact. Once you actually dodge the lost clowns, of course the eyes will turn blue, meaning it's gonna be recharging itself. Or just basically roam around, which that can actually happen in some points. So sometimes you would do, all you could do is just shoot it off with 1 bullet, or you can just actually slash it off with a shovel once the eyes turn blue, because it's basically on its own little roaming phase. But once the eyes are glowing, it's best for you not to actually slash it because it will explode onto you in impact. So those are the encounters of what could be the best or yet the worst. And I'm sure there'll be more for me to talk about with certain enemies, but I'm sure if you have questions about certain enemies that you experience, you can comment down below and ask me questions and how I basically deal with them and stuff. And if you actually try to think of a strategy to kill them with a shovel within the tier list that I made, you can tell me, and then you can also complain to me if it didn't work out or so. And then that's when I get double check for myself, just to see. I did suffer enough to do some little research, but at the same time, it's like, it's still something for me to learn of how to deal with these things. I cannot say that this is the powerful tool of when it comes to protecting yourself from any form of attacks at all, or any environmental attacks. So blocking with a shovel, it's like you can almost block anything. Just not everything, just anything. So you can block with melee attacks, you can block lasers, you can block like some form of environmental things that could hurt you. Okay, well. And then like certain like boss attacks you can actually block, and what you cannot really block is just explosion. And with fire, it's not really much of a guarantee. It's like I said, it's pretty mixed, but it is one of those that you can technically block, but you just cannot be able to block the whole thing. And now for the not 100% guarantee block. So of course, once I'm thinking of how blocking could really work, it's like you do actually have to block in a certain angle from any projectiles that are aiming towards you. And the thing is, like, certain part from the bullet spread, once it hits you in a certain angle, like, it does tell you that it was a hit. So the shovel is like a shield of like, it only covers you possibly 75% or so. For me, I have been experimenting long enough that like I know I cannot be able to block everything, especially if there's multiple enemies in the way. When it comes to like laser enemies, you probably will experience some things that's just basically like this. And I cannot say that it is fun. So yeah, when it comes to like certain attacks from some enemies, like sometimes you do want to angle yourself or just basically go head on like in front of where they're gonna shoot you. But just make sure that you do look at your surroundings before you do, because the thing is that you might still be able to get killed if you're just focusing on one enemy. So make sure you actually look around of who's going to be able, who's gonna like shoot you first, and then that's when you block the attack in. And that's why blocking is not 100% guaranteed, so just be careful of where you're blocking. When it comes to mixing items for the shovel, steroids is usually the best choice, because steroids, it does affect with both the kicking and the shovel, because it's both with melee range. It does give you a gigantic power boost where you can actually slash the enemy basically once or a few times depending on how big they are. I have done some mixed other item to help out with the killing them off with a shovel, that involves with just stunning them or freezing them, time bombs, and possibly the suspicious moonshine power up, where it just confuses the enemies to shoot each other and stuff. When it comes to like the shovel run rules, it does seem like the suspicious moonshine could be a little like out there. It could be in between of like people should or should not actually use it when it comes to shovel runs, but that's why I'm thinking like maybe it could be useful for just for those who just, you know, wants to play the game how they want to play. It might actually help, because the thing is that it keeps the enemies distracted while you actually want to go forth just to kill someone else that you want to, and then from there, that's when you can just kill off the rest of the enemies that you want. And I'm sure some of you may be asking, like, can you be able to do great in Horde with just the shovel? And I had to say both yes and no. And what I do mean by no is that, like, when it comes to wave 2, the exploding jumping beams do spawn in, which that is not like a good thing once you really want to do a shovel run on Horde mode. But the thing is, like, you do have to be forced to actually shoot your enemies. But for me, I really don't mind just shooting the jumping beams and then just start slashing the rest of the enemies from there. I did actually play Horde mode just to try to see how good I could do with just a shovel. But I can't do the shovel alone once there are exploding enemies that I had to deal with. And especially the snipers as well. Because it does depend if I really want to kill the snipers with a shovel or not. But in some cases I do actually have to. But when it comes to my advice with the shovel in Horde mode, if you really want it to be quick, movement does really involve, and also you gotta do some blocking, but just remember, like, just face on your enemies head on just to block and then slash them off, because you may be able to block bullets, but can you be able to dodge the rest of the bullets that you cannot block? But hey, at least it was still an experience for me to actually try Horde mode with a shovel, but it was still something.
Owls and billionaires are not always what they seem. Witness my true and not even a final form.
So lastly but not least, how it goes for using the shovel against bosses. And of course this is spoiler alerts for those who want to play the game to know the story, but I'm gonna be honest, like, does anybody like really want to know the story to this game? Because I would not, but hey, it's everybody's choice after all anyways. So let's go through the first boss of Karen.
My name is Karen! Get me the manager! Racist
Thing is that really you can be able to block some of her attacks, but when it comes to hitting you with her purse, you cannot really be able to block that at all. And even with certain angles, you're just thinking like, so I cannot be able to block this attack or something? Because it seems like since how big she is, she will hit you just over the head. And even if you do look up, I don't think it will matter either way. And her earthquake, you can be able to block that. But with the terrible signs is basically that she spawns in random enemies. And what's worse, that she spawns in snipers. I would say the same about the jumping beans, but the thing is that, you know, snipers. Luckily, it's like, if you can be able to slow them down with either the liquid nitrogen or just time bombs in general, you could be able to kill off Karen in the meantime, but at the same time, like, it does take pretty long, because sometimes you do actually have to run away from certain enemies, unless if you want to be highly aggressive just to actually kill them off. It's just that the problem is that you will hear some jumpings, which that's when you really had to get out, or else they're just gonna explode on you. Which is another interesting thing about the jumping beans. It's like you can block them, but other times, like if you just stand still on a certain thing, like one bean, it'll just basically just hop like right next to you, won't even attack you at all. But when it comes to two, they'll basically do actually manage to hit you, which it was a weird experience for me. I don't really think much of it, because, you know, I just needed to write down some notes to see, like, okay, is this good or bad? I don't know. So is it really a good idea to actually kill off Karen with a shovel? No. But is it possible? Yes, it is. But with items to help you? Yes. Because if you don't really have much items to help you with at all, I'm sure it will take so long to deal with the Karen by using the shovel alone.
Now that thing is bad shit crazy. Get it? You get it, right?
And so, of course, the second boss, the big bad Rana, or Rona, I don't know how you pronounce Rana's name or so, but so with this boss, there's really not much to say, because all you have to do is just either grapple hook, or like once you're already on top of the thing, you're just basically gonna slash it off, and while taking some damage while doing so. And here's the thing I've learned: you can actually block its gas, you could say, or something, poisonous gas. And with some other experimental things, once Rona spawns in Ronnies, like they do actually go after you and just release another a ball of poisonous gas. But here's the thing: you could block those. So if you don't think you have good timing when it comes to slashing off Ronnies, you can always just block the poisonous gas and just move a little bit away from it, and you'll be good to go. That also applies with the other gas enemies, which the thing is, you can actually block the gas clouds. Yep, I'm telling you, you can basically almost block anything with a shovel. But yeah, there's really not much to say with this one. So even with speedrunning with a shovel, you're just good to go. Just be on top of it, and yeah.
Didn't see that one coming, did ya? Now that's a fine plot twist. Close and so that's who you really are.
So lastly, the third boss, which applies with other dude and Tesla Borgalian or something. I just call it the giant robot. It's actually just my favorite bosses to do, because the thing is, I just have my friend Pedro flashbacks of like boss thing that just almost mimics your moves and everything, which I find that pretty cool. But of course, sadly, that with other dude, I cannot really do the shovel joust or something. Hey, I want to have a duel with someone that also wields a shovel too. Like, come on, I want to do that. But I'm sure it also implies too much coding of him actually figuring out how to slash you off with a shovel. With certain other dude attacks, which involves with the rocket launcher, the nail biter, the shotgun. I'm sure there is more, and I just had to actually think about it. But still, like, he wields like certain weapons and not really all of it. With a shovel, like, you can basically block with the shotgun and the nail biter attacks, even with his melee attacks. But you cannot be able to block the rocket launcher, basically is an explosive weapon. And the other problem is that he will most likely explode himself than basically you trying to actually kill him off. Quote unquote kill. So, and that is one of my experiences of actually dealing with him. Unless if you manage to weirdly break him, then will not be fair. And when I say by fair, I mean like be able to kill him off with a shovel alone. And it seems like that's what some people want me to do, is to give him a rematch to actually try to kill him off with a shovel alone instead of actually using some items to help me out. So that, we'll see how that go, and I'm sure it's gonna take a really long time. So now with the robot itself, I cannot actually believe that it is possible to actually kill off the robot with a shovel. But of course it takes a lot of time, and if you actually have a lot of quick pills, then yes, it is fully possible for you to actually kill off when you can. And if you don't actually have any quick pills or anything, then that means it's gonna be a really long while for you to try to adjust and figure out of how to basically launch yourself up forward just to slash off the certain parts of the other robot. Really enough that other than like once it launches off the explosive rounds, both the knee mordaka and scissoring the scissors. Sorry. I'm just like thinking of the guy's lines of the knee mordaka thing is just what. I had terrible experiences with that thing. But yes, you can actually block the knee mordaka if the thing actually hits you, and the scissors attack, you can be able to block that too. When it comes to like be able to adjust where the robot should be located for you to launch upwards, I think once the scissors moves, it's actually the best option, but you do actually have to adjust yourself as well to measure in when you can be able to block the attack and make sure the jump pad is either right next to it or even underneath it, depending on like where you want to locate your attacks in. So in the end, it is pretty difficult for me to really think of some ways that some people could be able to deal with the shovel. And of course, who knows, you could do like little simple tricks as well of like doing a thing called the market gardening, which is launching yourself upwards with a rocket launcher, and then you can just be able to slash the enemies with a shovel. And I do gotta say, I am terrible at that. Like a lot more terrible than I can do as a soldier in Team Fortress 2. I am not really much of an expert when it comes to going through some things, but the thing is that I do actually have fun of basically just roaming around and just slashing things inside because, it's some things I thought about doing. And watching some people actually play the game as well. It's like they have their own strategies on how to deal with. And of course, about me suffering in Postal difficulty, it feels like I'd just rather go back to medium or hard mode. But mostly hard mode because, I do like to challenge myself in some ways. And with medium, it is just when I wanted to test some things or just go for a speedrun. A speedrun 100%, that is. I think that's all I could say, and I'm sure there'll be more that I did not actually describe in the description below if there is anything that I am missing. Because I literally did actually wrote down some notes, which is not much, but the thing is that it was enough for me to actually talk about it and think about like, oh yeah, this happened or the other thing happened. And hopefully my advices do work out for those who actually want to try the shovel one challenge, or just basically use the shovel just for the purpose of like, oh no, I ran out of ammo, time to go forth and just shovel the enemies. So thank you for really watching. Many more maybe coming soon. May never know, may never know. And I hope the advice was good enough to have some form of information here and there. So thank you for really watching, and ZuppyQ56 is out. Click.